Hi. So here I am in the back roads of New Brunswick, just running the dogs in the forest. The bugs are too bad to get out, so it's better they get a run at all than us walking them. So I was thinking a lot about the end of my drinking days and going to rehab. I was 45 years old at the time when it came to an end. As I've mentioned before, I lost complete control over drinking. It's like I had to drink. If I didn't drink, I got really, really sick and shaky and everything else. And the times in between these episodes got shorter and shorter and shorter. I do remember though, like I was a really, really heavy drinker for many, many years, but I functioned. I had a job, but I moved around a lot, so nobody ever really got to know me, super well to know what I was hiding, I guess. I always hung around with the wild crowd, and, it was kind of expected that, you know, we were partiers and drinkers and all that. So, I didn't see it sort of that way, but that's just the way it was. So I started getting sick. I had a pretty good doctor, and he kind of figured things out and gave me a bunch of tests. My liver function was way, way off, and I had a bunch of tests done on my liver. And he said if I didn't stop soon, I'd be lucky to see another year. At first I didn't believe him. I thought he was just trying to make me quit, but turned out I was in a lot. My liver really hurt, and the more I drank, the more it hurt. So I knew they were connected. So what happened was, like, I was really heavy drinking, and then I had a friend come and live with my family for a while, and like most of my friends, he had access to things that fell off the back of trucks and all that, and he had a lot of access. One of the things was booze. So he was bringing me cases of vodka in the half gallons, 6 to a case or 4 to a case, I can't remember. And I started to drink more and more. I wasn't working very often, so I was free to, drink more, and people were noticing, and I didn't really notice, but it was when I was drinking that much that I really started to notice that I was very, very dependent, that my drinks were getting fewer and further between, that I was actually, sometimes I would, I kept my booze in the kitchen, and I would go to the TV room, then I would come back to the kitchen to make a drink. Well, sometimes I would make one, drink it, and then make one to take back with me. I just felt the need to do that. I had never done those kind of things before. I'd always planned things out and made sure I didn't drink too much, but I started losing control where I had to do these things. I couldn't get enough, or I would start to shake and tremble and sweat and whatever. So it made it pretty much impossible for me to work anymore. So as it turns out, I have a lot of broken bones, and I've had surgery and stuff, and so I would go to the doctor and say I can't work anymore. Please take me off sick. And that would allow me to even become more unfunctionable and stuff, like, I just lost control. And it got so bad that I just withdrew from everyone. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything. I didn't want to drive. I didn't want to be with my friends and stuff. And eventually, my friend had moved on and opened a business somewhere else, and had moved there, and so the free booze ran out, and it just got really hard to keep it up and be a complete waste of a person. It was just awful. But the worst part was, being a control freak like I was, I had totally lost control of what I do in a day, and I would get up and I would have to go to the bank to get money. It wasn't like it is now where you could just go online. There was no internet or anything. And I would have to have a couple drinks just to calm down enough to go sign my name at the bank. But I would have a couple and I would feel so much better that I would have a couple more. Next thing you know, I've had too much to even go to the bank. I couldn't even do the most easiest tasks anymore. So I can't remember what happened, but people were starting to notice, and there had been so much alcoholism in my family that I had said to myself, I never want to be that guy. I never want to be an alcoholic. Even though I knew I was, I didn't want other people to think of me that way. And then I started thinking, well, I'm going to die an alcoholic, and that's all people are going to remember me for. Is, oh, that guy, yeah, he drank himself to death. He was an alcoholic. I didn't want that. So I started talking to some people I knew who had gone into rehab, and what should I do? And I had an old friend, an older man, who once said to me, if you ever want to stop and you can't, give me a call. So I did. I called him. In the meantime, I went to my work and I said, I got a problem. I want to go to rehab. And they said, okay. So they set it all up. So I went to my friend and said, what do I do now? He said, well, you're going to come to some meetings with me or whatever. Well, I put that off as long as I could. I finally went to a meeting the night before I went to rehab because I was terrified. And I walked to the door, and I guess he must have called a bunch of people, but there was all these people I knew at this meeting that I had worked with over years that I didn't even know were in AA. I just thought they didn't drink. I didn't know. And it turned out to be very welcoming and warm, and everybody was so nice to me. Well, I went home that night. Of course, I wasn't drinking because you can't drink for 3 days before you go into rehab, and apparently they test you. Turns out they didn't, but apparently they do. And the next day I went off to rehab. So I got my wife at the time to drive me out there, and it was a big mansion in the country, beautiful, like right next to a small town, and you weren't locked in or anything, so you were allowed to go to town and buy chocolate bars and candy or whatever you wanted. And they always said, if you try to get by booze or a drink or whatever, we'll know within 5 minutes. The town is watching you. So I went into the rehab, and I told them I was there, and they told me to sit on a couch out in the meeting room. I sat down. Next thing I know, another guy comes in, and same thing. It's his first day. So he sat down near me, and we started talking. And then a third guy came in, and same thing. We all started talking, and turns out we had so much in common. We were there for the same reasons. We were all doing the same, shitty things and all that, and, needed to be there. And so it turned out that we got to be really good friends, and that was fantastic. I really felt no longer alone, kind of. Now they put you in groups in a place like that, and we were all in different groups, and we all slept in different rooms. But every time we had a break or went to town or something, one of us, we would hook up with each other, and I totally felt I felt like I needed to be there, and I felt that all this was really, really good. I'm glad that it worked out the way it did. So anyway, I made it through my 21 days in rehab. It was fantastic. It was the best thing I ever did. I met two good friends. One of them didn't make the 21 days. He went home. He missed his family, so he said. And I ended up losing touch with him. But I did meet a lot of people I stayed in touch with for years there. And if you're hurting like I was hurting, or if you're worried about yourself or whatever, I highly recommend, an AA rehab if you're drinking. I don't know what it's like for drugs. I didn't go for drugs, but it turns out I was abusing prescription medication at the same time. So I'll leave it there for now and talk more about it another time. So y'all have a good day.